Okay. Good afternoon. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. I could speak for Paul, but I won't. I will take this moment to let him speak. Okay. Speaking for myself and Susan and Chris and Judy, want to thank everyone who responded yesterday. We're very, very grateful for the support that was extended. It is going to allow us to pay back the 3 loans we got this past week at the end of the day today, which is a great relief and is greatly appreciated. And the love that was extended in those gifts, I promise you it's felt. We feel it. Thank you. No, I'm going to say something else. Because as I was being quiet and turning it back over to Raj, I realized that the support has been encouraging. I feel encouraged. I won't stop listening to Raj no matter what happens. And in one way or another, I won't stop unless Raj says we're not going to do it anymore. I will not stop extending and sharing what Raj has to say. And it would never be my desire to crawl into a closet and just write books where I was never involved with anyone, but could sit cozy and shielded from the messiness of human relationships and just spout the truth. Okay. I don't know why it was important to say it, but the support has been encouraging. Okay. What is the one thing that can break isolation? What's the one thing that can violate and undo what I'm going to call the strength of the ego frame of reference in you? It's gratitude. You can't feel gratitude and be upset at the same time. You can't feel gratitude and successfully employ defense. In fact, if you're going to be a warrior for the ego, it will be part of your credo to avoid gratitude, because it will undo your capacity to be able to defend yourself and engage in attack. Gratitude is something that never exists in isolation. You must be grateful for something. The gratitude will have an object. And if you're experiencing gratitude, or if you are employing gratitude, you are in the act of defying and breaking any state of isolation or defense that you've been engaged in. That's why in the past I have suggested at times that you go on a diet of gratitude. And you know, there's something else. You can engage in gratitude even if you're upset. Being upset does not make the state of gratitude totally unavailable to you and impossible for you to engage in. And the moment in your upsetness that you do begin to engage gratitude and persist in it, and I'm talking about real gratitude, the upsetness will begin to fade. Always your upsetness is the result of one thing only, and that is that you have crawled into a very private place that you are defending against intrusion. When you do that, you're uncomfortable. When you are uncomfortable, you have done that. Now, at this point in the course, we're looking at the way the ego works. But mind you, just because you understand the way the ego works, it doesn't mean that the ego is any more real than it was before you understood how it works. To understand how it works is to be able to see more clearly its meaninglessness. How silly, how ridiculous, how impossible the existence of such a thing as an ego frame of reference is. So don't think that as you're gaining an understanding of the ego, that it must mean that there really is an ego. What you're gaining an understanding of is that there isn't any such thing as an ego because its premise is illusory. It therefore has no foundation. In other words, let's bring it home a little more, because right now I'm talking about the ego. Generally speaking, the ego is this, the ego is that. There's no generally speaking about the ego. The ego is your current sense of yourself that has been built upon the idea that you are the trigger, that you are the impulse from which you and your life come forth, that you're the alpha and omega of your experience. In other words, there is no God. There is nothing outside of you. There is nothing beyond you. There is nothing more than you, this body, which has developed a mind that can live a life, defend itself, succeed, and so on. Which, of course, is a complete misunderstanding about your identity and your being. And waking up, experiencing enlightenment, is the way in which you get beyond the box of the definition you have of yourself. so that yourself can be seen in its original and only context, which is infinite, and which, because it is infinite, is all-inclusive, all-embracing, and in which all that is within it is involved with every other aspect of what is in it. So that you are inseparable in actuality from every single one of your brothers and sisters, every flower, every tree, every manifestation of life. And it's an intimate, infinite involvement. Now, that's more than you can swallow in one swallow in terms of a shift of consciousness. So how do you begin the process of getting out of the box so that you can become susceptible to the larger experience? Again, through the practice of gratitude. Through the practice of gratitude. What better word or act could I use to describe the meaning of the word love? Love your neighbor. Love your brother when he's in the midst of despair, when he's in the midst of what's called a terminal illness, when he's in the midst of turmoil. Well, how can I love? The easiest way to begin loving is to find something about them to be grateful for. What are the things about them that you appreciate? What are the things about them that you can express gratitude for? That's comprehensible, where the word love can be inscrutable, you might say, and a little difficult to put your finger on. But gratitude, that you can cope with, that you can understand, and that you can bring into play. And the interesting thing is that as you begin to express gratitude, even if it's for apparently silly things like, I'm grateful for the fact that every day I see her, she wears clothes that are lovely. I enjoy the clothes she wears. I appreciate the presence that she is in her choice of colors and textures and so on. Or I appreciate her for being straightforward, honest, frank, gentle, tender. Or I appreciate my home. I appreciate the opportunity it gives me to express order and to express loveliness. And I appreciate the shelter it gives me. You see, we don't have to get otherworldly in terms of appreciation. But if you're upset, if you're in a really bad mood, you're starting with these simple things that you can genuinely feel gratitude for. And you're continuing to find more and more of these things to be grateful for, makes it easier and easier for you to find more things to feel grateful for, and the inclination for gratitude to pour forth doubles and triples and increases. And pretty soon you realize that you're not in the bad frame of mind that you were in. The reason being that you've abandoned the intellectual commitment to isolation and thoughts that confirm and support it. Because remember, what you're hurting from is a decision to be alone. If you're hurting, you have made a decision to be alone. It's that simple. As you abandon that and express gratitude, you are embracing, including, and extending yourself. And as you do that, the number of things to extend your gratitude to increases. The isolation is broken. You begin to feel better, and your action blesses everything that you have expressed gratitude for. Then, this new appreciative frame of mind that you are in allows you to become mobilized where your isolation and misery had caused you to become immobilized. And now you're in a position where you can act. You can turn that gratitude into an action that might be a hug or a thank you or a wiping off of the counter that needs to be wiped so that it looks lovely again. Actions of appreciation expressed, quote, in the world, not just embraced in the withinness of your mind. The key is for the truth to register with you, for the love that you are to register with you so that it can emerge into action, acts in the world, so that it becomes visible in the world. And there is something whole and healthy and transformational to replace the ugliness, we'll say, that is managing to be acted out in the world. So that hope might be experienced by those who think that the acts of hate are normal. You can always use the words, there is another way to look at this. But another way to be acted out in the world gives a visual, experiential example of the fact that there's another way to be. And that gives hope. That is inspiring. You want to know what the ego is? The ego is a closet Christ. A Christ who hides what he is from the world. And you know what I'm doing? I'm outing every single one of you. With love, I'm saying come out of the closet. Show what you are. because the world needs to see it and you need to feel it. Because until you do, you're in a state of misery that is undeserved and illegitimate. How do you come out of the closet? By finding ways to express gratitude, first within your own consciousness and then expressed in the world. So that new actions from each of you replace old actions that were confirming the ego in you and in others. Waking up starts as an inside job, but it doesn't end as an inside job. It ends as that inside transformation becomes expressed in actions that will cause observers from space, let's say, to say, oh, something is happening there on planet Earth. Things are changing. Not only is there less conflict, there is a new energy emanating. Why? Because something is actually happening right in the middle of the human condition. And you know what? It won't be a matter of these observers saying, wow, what's happening down there? Suddenly, the population is becoming less and less. They just disappeared. Just poofed out of existence. What is going on? It's never going to be a matter of flashing out and leaving this place. It's always going to be a matter of being in this place more fully in a way that embodies in words and deeds and feelings and thoughts what you divinely are, what is really true about you. So waking up, that wonderful thing all of you seek, you say, is to know who and what you are and what your purpose is. Well, your purpose is to be what you are, and the only way you can be what you divinely are is to embody it in involvement with your brothers from that awareness of what you are, which is divine, extending what you are to your brothers and sisters whom you now recognize are also divine, so that what you are confirms what they are. And in their discovery of who they are divinely, they confirm what you are, so that there is a singularity. That's what it's about. And the same thing about the trees and the roses and the plants and the animals. You will get no support from me on any otherworldly ideas about what is involved in awakening. Now, are you the sons and daughters of God? Right here and now you are. So right here and now is where you will discover that that's what you are. And right where you are now is the kingdom of heaven, seen through a glass darkly. It's not anything else. And so right here is where you will, once again, rediscern the kingdom of heaven. And the key to unlocking the kingdom of heaven is your willingness to express and embody in actions gratitude, love. By becoming involved with everything from your love, because you're beginning to have an awareness that what you're loving is also love, is also divine, is also God presenting Himself right there. Actually, we're going to back up one paragraph just for review and context. We're going to the book. The ingeniousness of the ego to preserve itself is enormous, but it stems from the power of the mind which the ego denies. And we discussed last week that the power of the mind that the ego denies is the Christ presence that you are, which is pretending at the moment to be an ego and believing its pretension. This means that the ego attacks what is preserving it. And this must be a source of extreme anxiety. In other words, that which you divinely are is using its capacity to imagine that it is not what it is. And because it is divine, it manages to create a sense of not being what it is as an experience. And this that it isn't, which is called the ego, must deny that which has created it. Because if it doesn't manage to keep the Christ that you are covered from your vision and you rediscover it, then that will be the end of the ego. So it's in a state of denying the very thing that allows it to seem to have existence. That can only be tension producing. It must walk a fine line so as to not actually come anywhere close to destroying what is allowing temporarily for its existence through the use of imagination. This must be a source of extreme anxiety. That is why the ego never knows what it's doing. It is perfectly logical, but clearly insane. The ego draws upon the one source, the Christ that you are, which is totally inimical to its existence, for its existence. Do you see why it is itself a state of conflict, a state of tension? Fearful of perceiving the power of this source, it is forced to depreciate it. This threatens its own existence, a state which it finds intolerable. It's like the saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. But the ego's job is to bite the hand that gives it life, because it must keep it out of sight. This is why you can never refer to the ego frame of reference as your friend or your ally, and you must understand that it is always acting not in your best interest. It is always acting to your detriment, which means it's always acting to the detriment of what you divinely are. You might say that's its job, because that's the only thing that will seem to keep it going. Remaining logical, but still insane, The ego resolves this completely insane dilemma in a completely insane way.